They look calm on the outside, but inside, they're at war. You might think they just want space, that they're just independent, that they simply don't like to rely on others. But the truth? Avoidant personality disorder hides behind layers of silence, distance, and self-protection. And the most dangerous part, most of its signs are invisible. They slip under the radar. Even close partners, even family, miss them. That's why so many people stay confused. They blame themselves. They think they weren't enough, when really, the avoidant was fighting a battle they never spoke of. Today, we're pulling the curtain back, revealing the hidden signs no one talks about, the ones that explain why they push away the very people they love, the ones that show you what's really happening beneath their cold surface. Stay with me until the end, because once you see these signs, you can never unsee them. The silent fear behind the mask. Avoidant personality disorder doesn't announce itself. There's no clear label, no easy signal. Instead, it hides in patterns, subtle moves, moments that feel almost normal until you piece them together. The first hidden sign? A deep and constant fear of being exposed. Not exposed in the way most people think. Not secrets or lies being revealed, but something much more vulnerable. The fear of their true self being seen. Imagine living every day with the belief that if people really knew you, they would reject you. They would walk away. They would laugh. For someone with avoidant personality disorder, this isn't a passing insecurity. It's their reality. It's the filter through which they see the world. So what do? They build a mask, a carefully crafted version of themselves that feels safe enough to present. Polite, pleasant, competent, but never too open, never too real. You might notice it in conversations. They share just enough to keep things moving. But the moment it gets personal, they deflect, change the subject, or give vague answers that reveal nothing. It feels like you're talking to a shadow, close enough to touch, but impossible to hold. This isn't because they don't care. It's because every cell in their body screams, if you see the real me, you'll leave. That belief shapes their entire life. It makes intimacy feel dangerous. It makes love feel like a trap. It makes closeness feel like exposure. So, they master the art of invisibility. They become skilled at blending in, at being agreeable, at never standing out too much. Because standing out means being seen, and being seen feels unbearable. The tragedy? Many partners mistake this for disinterest. They think the avoidant doesn't want to share, that they don't care enough to be vulnerable, when in reality, they're terrified of being known. This hidden sign is everywhere once you spot it. The way they carefully choose words, the way they avoid deep eye contact, the way they keep conversations on safe, surface-level ground. It's like living behind a glass wall. They can see you. They can even reach for you. But there's always something between you and them. And here's the cruel twist. The more you try to break through, the more they retreat. Not because they don't want connection, but because connection feels like exposure. And exposure feels like rejection waiting to happen. That's why many relationships with avoidance feel confusing. You feel close one moment, shut out the next. They laugh with you, then vanish into silence. They say they're fine, but their body tells you something else. Partners often internalize this. They think, maybe I pushed too hard. Maybe I wasn't interesting enough. Maybe I'm too much. But it's not about you. It's about their silent fear. The fear that the closer you get, the faster you'll run once you see what's inside. So they do the running first. They create distance. They build walls. They ghost. They withdraw. Not out of cruelty, not out of a lack of love, but out of survival. And this is the first hidden sign. Not just the avoidance of closeness, but the constant, exhausting work of hiding who they are. The mask becomes their life, but the mask also becomes their prison. Because here's the truth: behind the coldness, behind the silence, behind the distance, is someone who desperately wants to be loved, but who is too terrified to believe it's possible. Why they rarely get recognized. Avoidant personality disorder is one of the most misunderstood conditions, not because it's rare, but because it wears such a convincing disguise. Think about it. If someone is openly anxious, they show it. You can see their restlessness, their overthinking, their constant need for reassurance. If someone is openly depressed, you notice the sadness, the heaviness, the lack of energy that lingers in their eyes. But the avoidant? They're harder to read. They don't present as chaotic or needy. They don't cry for help. They don't demand constant attention. Instead, they appear fine, composed, self-reliant, even confident at times. People look at them and think, wow, they've got it together. They're so independent. They don't need anyone. But beneath that polished exterior is a storm they'll never let you see. That's why this disorder often flies under the radar. Friends don't notice. Coworkers don't notice. Even partners miss the signs. Because the avoidant has perfected the art of pretending. Pretending to be unbothered. Pretending to be detached. Pretending that closeness doesn't matter. It's not just a defense mechanism. It's survival. And here's the cruel irony. The very behaviors that protect them also keep them invisible. How do you recognize someone who never admits their pain? How do you spot suffering in a person who looks calm? How do you see loneliness in someone who insists they're fine? You don't. Not unless you look deeper. Not unless you know what to look for. That's why so many avoidants go undiagnosed. Not just for years, but for decades. They're not in therapy. They're not opening up to doctors. They're not confiding in friends. Instead, they silently cope, building lives that look functional, but feel empty. They may have careers. They may have families. They may even have long-term partners. But at the core, they feel disconnected, always half in, half out, always performing, never belonging. This is why recognition is so rare. Because from the outside, they don't fit the picture of someone struggling. They look normal. And in a world obsessed with visible signs, the invisible struggles slip by unnoticed. There's another reason, too. Our culture rewards independence. It praises self-sufficiency. It admires people who don't need anyone. So when avoidants pull away, or downplay connection, or act like they're fine alone, they're not judged. They're celebrated. People say things like, they're so strong. They don't let emotions get to them. They're not like those clingy people. But what looks like strength is often a shield. What looks like independence is often isolation. What looks like control is often fear. And that's why avoidants rarely get recognized. Because the world confuses their coping mechanisms for character traits. Their silence is mistaken for calm. Their withdrawal is mistaken for independence. Their walls are mistaken for boundaries. But make no mistake, these aren't signs of peace. They're signs of pain. Pain that's hidden so deeply, even they struggle to admit it. And here's the heartbreaking part. The longer they go unnoticed, the more the disorder deepens. Patterns become habits. Habits become identity. And soon, even they start to believe, this is just who I am. Not realizing, it's not who they are. It's who they became to survive. That's why awareness is so important. Because once you know the hidden signs, you stop mistaking distance for strength. You stop confusing silence with peace. You stop believing the mask is the person. You start to see what's really happening underneath. And that awareness changes everything. It changes how you love them, how you support them, how you protect yourself in the process. Because the truth is, avoidant personality disorder thrives in the shadows. But once it's brought to light, it can no longer hide the hidden signals they send. If avoidants are so good at hiding, how can you ever tell? The truth is, even when they try to mask it, their need for connection leaks through. But it doesn't look like the usual signs of closeness. They won't say, "I need you." They won't ask, "Can you stay?" Instead, their signals are subtle. So subtle, most people miss them. Let's look at some of the hidden ways they show it. They linger, not obviously, but just enough. At the end of a conversation, they won't reach for more words, but they also won't walk away quickly. It's as if their body wants to stay, even while their mind tells them to go. They send small invitations, not grand gestures, not clear requests, but little hints. Do you want to grab coffee? Are you free for a walk? Maybe we could catch that movie. It's casual. It's light. It seems unimportant. But for them, that's a big deal. Because beneath those small invitations is a desperate attempt to test. Will you say yes? Will you choose me? Another hidden signal? The way they open up, but only in pieces. They'll share a random detail, something out of nowhere, something personal enough to feel different, but not too vulnerable. It might sound like this: "Yeah, school was tough for me." Or, "I don't really talk to my family." And then they'll quickly change the subject, almost like they regret it, almost like they dropped a puzzle piece, but don't want you to see the whole picture. That's not random. That's them saying, "I want to trust you. I want to be seen, but I'm terrified of giving too much." You'll notice it in their body language, too. The way they lean closer when they're relaxed, but then pull back when you notice. The way they glance at you longer than necessary, but look away quickly when you catch them. It's a dance. One step forward, one step back. Always testing, always afraid, but always hoping. Another hidden signal is humor. They joke, they tease, they throw out sarcasm. But sometimes, if you listen closely, the humor hides pain. A self-deprecating joke about being hard to love, a sarcastic remark about always being alone, a laugh about never fitting in. To most, it sounds like just a joke, but underneath, it's a truth they can't say directly. So they hide it in laughter. And here's something almost no one talks about. Avoidants often show care in practical ways. They won't always say, "I love you," but they'll fix the leaky faucet. They'll check your car before a long trip. They'll remember your favorite snack. To them, actions feel safer than words, because words feel like exposure. But actions? Actions let them love without being seen too much. This is why so many partners get confused. They think, they never say how they feel. But if you look closely, they're showing it, just in a different language. And here's the last hidden signal: the way they come back. Even after withdrawing, even after pulling away, even after disappearing, they return, quietly, casually, almost like nothing happened. But the truth is, that return means something huge. It means the bond mattered enough to fight their fear. It means they missed you more than they could admit. Most people misread this. They see it as games. They see it as inconsistency. But often, it's their way of saying, "You're important. I just don't know how to show it." So yes, avoidants are masters of hiding. But if you pay attention, if you watch for the small moments, you'll see their truth. It's not loud. It's not clear. But it's there. In the way they linger. In the pieces they share. In the jokes that hide pain. In the care that shows through actions. In the return after distance. Those are the hidden signals no one talks about. And once you notice them, you'll see the avoidant in a whole new light. Because underneath the mask is someone longing to be seen, someone desperate to belong, someone terrified to admit it, but someone who, deep down, still hopes someone will notice anyway. The cost when it's missing. Every pattern has a price. Every wall has a cost. And with avoidant personality disorder, the cost is heavy. At first glance, it doesn't look that way. They seem fine. They look stable. They act like they don't need anyone. But beneath the surface, the consequences of avoidance slowly eat away at their lives. The first cost? Loneliness. Not the kind of loneliness you feel when you're single. Not the kind that comes and goes with circumstances, but a deep, aching loneliness that exists even in a crowded room. Avoidants carry this constantly, because no matter who's around them, they don't feel connected. They might laugh, they might talk, they might go through the motions, but inside it feels empty, like they're watching life instead of living it. The second cost is mistrust. When your whole life is built around protecting yourself, you stop believing anyone can be trusted. You test people. You doubt intentions. You assume rejection is inevitable. So even when love shows up, even when kindness is real, it doesn't sink in. It bounces off the walls they've built. And that mistrust isolates them even further. Because trust is the foundation of intimacy. Without it, every relationship cracks. Another cost? Regret. They pull away to feel safe. But afterward, they feel the loss. They think about what could have been. The friendship that faded. The partner who left. The moments they missed. It builds quietly, like a shadow. And years later, they look back and wonder, why didn't I let them in? But by then, it's often too late. The person they pushed away has moved on. The opportunity has passed. And the regret becomes another layer of pain. The fourth cost is identity confusion. Because when you spend your life hiding, when you wear masks for every occasion, when you never reveal the real you, you start to lose sight of who you are. Am I the quiet one? The strong one? The independent one? The distant one? Or is there someone else underneath? Someone I've buried so deeply that even I can't find them anymore? That loss of identity is devastating, because without a sense of self, it's impossible to feel truly loved. How can someone love the real you if you've forgotten who the real you is? And then comes the final cost, a life half-lived. Avoidants often build stable lives. They work. They maintain routines. They function. But functioning is not the same as living. And many avoidants feel it. The emptiness of never being fully known. The ache of never letting themselves be fully loved. The quiet pain of realizing they survived their whole life, but never truly lived it. That's the hidden tragedy of avoidant personality disorder. Not the distance itself, not the coldness, but the opportunities lost because of them. The love stories that never unfolded. The friendships that never deepened. The dreams that stayed locked away. And yet, this cost doesn't just affect them. It affects everyone around them, too. Partners who feel unwanted. Friends who feel shut out. Family members who feel disconnected. People blame themselves. They wonder why they weren't enough. They question what they did wrong, when in reality, it wasn't about them. It was about the avoidance fear. A fear so powerful, it cost them connection with everyone they cared about. And here's the hardest truth. The avoidant pays the cost, too. Even if they never admit it. Even if they never show it. Even if they pretend it doesn't hurt. Because late at night, when the mask is off, when no one's watching, they feel it. The ache, the loneliness, the quiet scream inside that says, there has to be more than this. That's the cost no one talks about. Not just distance, not just silence, but a life starved of the very thing they crave most. Connection. What happens when they finally receive it? Here's the truth. Avoidance may spend years running, years hiding, years convincing themselves they don't need anyone. But something happens when they finally experience real, safe connection. At first, it feels unbearable. Too much, too close, too risky. Their instincts scream, pull back, shut down, don't let them in. And often, they do. They retreat. They test. They wait to see if the other person will give up. But if the bond is consistent, if it's steady, if it's patient and non-intrusive, something begins to shift. Slowly, the walls loosen. Slowly, the mask cracks. Slowly, they allow themselves to be seen. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a movie moment. It's 1,000 small steps. One conversation where they don't deflect. One night where they stay instead of leaving. One moment where they let themselves feel joy without guilt. And those moments build, brick by brick, until something unbelievable happens. The avoidant realizes they don't have to hide. They don't have to run. They don't have to pretend anymore. For the first time, they feel safe enough to show their true self. And when that happens, everything changes. The silence becomes sharing. The walls become bridges. The fear becomes trust. You see a softness they've never shown before. You hear stories they've never told anyone. You feel a closeness they once swore they didn't need. And here's the secret no one talks about. When avoidants finally allow love in, they love deeply. They love steadily. They love with a loyalty born from years of longing. Because underneath the distance, underneath the coldness, underneath the mask, was always a person starving for connection. When they finally taste it, it's like water in a desert. Life floods back in. Color returns. Hope awakens. But here's the delicate balance. That kind of connection only survives if it's nurtured. Push too hard, and the walls rise again. Withdraw completely, and they retreat back into silence. It takes patience. It takes awareness. It takes knowing the difference between supporting them and losing yourself. Because yes, they can heal. Yes, they can learn to stay. Yes, they can grow into the closeness they once feared. But it's not your job to save them. It's not your role to break their walls alone. And it's never your responsibility to lose yourself while trying. What you can do is recognize the signs, understand the patterns, protect your own heart while offering space for theirs. Because when avoidants finally receive the connection they've been craving, they don't just change their relationships, they change their entire lives. The loneliness starts to fade, the regret softens, the mistrust begins to heal, and for maybe the first time, they feel fully human, not hidden, not masked, not invisible, truly seen, truly known, truly loved. And that's the hidden possibility inside every avoidance story. Not just distance, not just coldness, but transformation. Because even the ones who push love away are the same ones who need it the most. So if you've ever felt confused, if you've ever felt shut out, if you've ever wondered why someone could love you in silence, but run from you in reality, remember this. It's not because you weren't enough. It's because they were too afraid to believe they could be loved. But with awareness, with patience, and with balance, change is possible. And maybe, just maybe, that's the hope you needed today. And if this spoke to you, drop your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be the lifeline someone else needs. Hit that like button if this resonated. And subscribe if you're ready to dive deeper into the hidden patterns of attachment. Because the more we uncover together, the less we stay trapped in silence.